someone you love.
For 2 days, Hornet Stadium has been silent. Tonight, the stands are full and the Olympic dream continues. Derek Adkins was a champion in Atlanta. Tonight, he resumes his quest for another gold in the 400-meter hurdles. The steeplechase, a test of stamina and will. For these athletes, the dream is to represent America in track and field's most rugged event. Gerald Miles Clark has not only represented America, she's tasted gold. The local fans lifted hometown hero Michael Stember to a third-place finish in the 1500. Tonight, he's back on the track in the 800. Live from Sacramento, California, the U.S. Olympic track and field trials. After 2 rest days, Hornet Stadium filled once again as the action resumes. And first off on our coverage tonight, the opening round heats in the men's 400-meter hurdles. And in this first heat, it's Bayano Kamani, the NCAA champion last year, runner-up this year. He'll be a senior at Baylor in the fall. Here are the lane assignments with Kamani in lane 6. You see 1, 2, and 7 are open in this opening round heat. The top 2 automatically advance to Friday's semifinals. The next 6 fastest overall will also advance.
Kamani getting himself a few push-ups in. Bayano Kamani there getting a few push-ups in before the race starts. He has a personal best time of 48.4, but he says his goal is to break Edwin Moses' collegiate record, which is 47.85. And if he were to do that, not only will we continue to advance, but maybe get to the final. Young man trains with Clyde Hart, who is also Michael Johnson's coach. He's got a lot of promise. He's a young kid, hasn't had much experience over in Europe, so you know his nerves are rattled a little bit. I talked to him before the race, and I could kind of see that glaze in his eyes, but hopefully he'll be all right.
Well, they really knew what they were doing when they scheduled this race. The sun has just dropped behind the stands. 15 minutes ago, the sun would have been a problem around the last turn, but it's just turning out to be perfect time to start.
We're live from Sacramento, kicking off 2 hours of live Olympic trial coverage on PAX. And the runners step up out of the blocks. And the nerves obviously are getting the best of some of the competitors. With the 3 open lanes, there are only 5 competitors in this heat.
Well, with the top 2 advancing to the next round and then 6 more going in on time, they do have the advantage of not having a fully loaded heat, but still the pressure is on to finish in the top 2, because that takes all the question out when you go back to your hotel room tonight. You don't have to think about it. You know you're running in the semifinal.
And unlike some of the races like the 800 meters or the 1500 meters where you're running against competitors not in lanes, you can come off the last turn, look around, see what you have to do to qualify. This is such a rhythm race. There's a time that you have to run, and if you slow down too much, it throws you off.
That's Aaron Lacey in lane 3 from Gardena, California. We're told that a bee was about to attack him. That's why they stepped up out of the blocks. So back in the blocks and ready to go in this first heat, 400-meter hurdles. And this time we have a fair start. The favorite is in lane 6. That's Bayano Kamani. He's in the green.
Kamani told me also before the race that only 20 years of age, but he's been running these hurdles since he was 15, so he's got some experience, but it's running at this level in front of a crowd like this with so much on the line. That's what he doesn't have experience in.
Kamani there is in lane 6. In lane 4, Haywood from Pasadena, California. And here they come out of the final turn. Remember, the top two will automatically advance to the semifinals to be held on Friday. And it is Mikhail Haywood of Pasadena, California, Aaron Lacey in the red, and Bayano Kamani in the green. Coming down to the finish, and Kamani trying to hold on in the outside lane, Reagan Nichols. And it looks like it will be Haywood, then Kamani, and Nichols finishing third in that opening heat in the men's 400-meter hurdles.
Well, Kamani really was kind of behind the 8 ball there for a second, and on the outside there was a great charge by Reagan Nichols in lane 8, but Kamani was able to hold himself together, actually running down the backstretch there, and he seemed to struggle a little bit, Marty.
Well, I think he knew what the thing to do was get his rhythm. He wasn't concerned about what other people were doing the race. A couple people went out too fast and really died. He ran an even race.
And so we're back with you live from Sacramento. That opening heat in the men's 400-meter hurdles underway. Hello and welcome again to our coverage on PAX. Tom Hammond with Carol Lewis, Lewis Johnson, and Marty LaCory. Marty, the big final tonight is in the men's 3,000-meter steeplechase, and it appears to be a wide-open race.
I don't know what it is about the steeplechase. It could be the water jump 150 yards from the finish, or the hurdle 50 yards from the finish, but it's been the most exciting race, in my opinion, of the last two Olympic trials. In 92, a half a second separated all four men. In 96, it was almost as close, and the guy who was fourth both of those times is back for a third try, Tom Nohilly. A lot of people would like to see him make the team finally.
All right, and then the women's 800, we'll see those runners for the first time, and of course that means the Clark family swings into action.
Definitely the Clark family, amazing family there. But number one is Gerald Miles Clark, who married into the Clark family and married J.J. Clark, who's the coach of all three athletes, so he's got a lot on his mind. Gerald Miles Clark already made it in the 400 meters, but she's realized that the 800 meters is where she needs to be if she expects to win a medal in Sydney. That also brings her sister-in-law Hazel Clark, the youngest of the bunch. She's run under 159 this year, and she looks good. But then on the last hand, you see Joetta Clark Diggs, who is 37 years old, trying to make her fourth Olympic team. She is out there trying to run with the young ones.
Be a lot of Clarks mentioned tonight. And Lewis will continue to see these men's 400-meter hurdlers. We're going to go back to the coverage in just a moment. And a little later on, we'll see the defending Olympic champion, Derek Adkins, but he's not the favorite in this event.
That's right. Eric Thomas was fourth at this meet in 1996, the worst possible position to be in. Fourth also trying to get to Seville last year, but this year he comes into the meet with the world's fastest time. But in 1996, we all remember Derek Adkins running around the track, going to Olympic gold and glory there in Atlanta, and we thought that he was on top of the world. But he revealed to me yesterday and to the rest of the world that he was actually in a horrible battle with depression. He's now managing that well, but the question is, can Derek Adkins manage 10 hurdles? We'll see that as the meet continues.
And we'll see Derek in action a little later on as the first round continues in the men's 400-meter hurdles. And right now we're getting ready for the second heat in that event, as the runners will try to advance to the semifinals on Friday. Here's Torrance Zellner from Marietta, Georgia, and the University of Florida. Was third at the U.S. Championships last year and a finalist in Seville at the World Championships, finishing 8th in his third Olympic trials. His best finish 1996 when he was 5th.
Torrance really knows how to peak at the right time, but this year he's run 1 second slower than his personal best. With 3 rounds here, we'll hope that he can come down that extra second.
And here's Eric Thomas from Houston, and Abilene Christian has the fastest time in the world this year.
Well, one of the reasons he has that time, Tom, is that he's running about 9 pounds lighter than he used to. His coach told him that he needed to stop running at 200 pounds, get down to 191, which he is now. Less stress on his body as he goes over the hurdles, and thus he's having faster times.
Here are the lane assignments in this second heat. First two are open, as you see. Zellner is in lane 4, and in lane 6, the aforementioned Eric Thomas.
Everything's in front of the bar.
Beautiful night in the Sacramento area, and as Marty pointed out, perfect for the runners.
Eric Thomas there said this is the most confidence he's had in coming to an Olympic trials. It's his second time here. He remembers what happened last time. He doesn't want to be in that position, but right now his focus is, he told me, is just to get through the rounds. He likes to take 13 steps through the first 6 hurdle. He leads with his left leg, and then he'll change it to the other leg. He'll alternate from hurdles, the last 3 hurdles, excuse me.
Former football player decided to concentrate on track. And a false start. Having trouble with the starts in the 400-meter hurdles tonight. A B disrupted the first heat, and now a false start in the second.
That was Eric Thomas. You know, the B thing is not that strange. I've been in races over in Japan where Japanese runners brought bees with them, and they hold them by their legs to sting them to get them up and going.
I've never heard that one before.
Oh, that's a new one.
It goes back to the old days, Lewis.
You know, Eric Thomas puts more pressure on himself now, taking a false start. If this was a collegiate meet, he'd be out. But when we get to the amateur or professional ranks, whichever you like to call it, you do get 1 false start. So now the pressure's on him to sit and wait, but not that much of a difference if he'll just sit and wait for this race.
Thomas in lane 6, charged with a false start. One of the expected favorites to move on to the semifinals from this heat. The other being Zellner in lane 4.
Torrance Zellner, having run 3 Olympic trials, so he has experience in this.
Former Florida Gator. And getting set in the blocks. And there was a bobble too in lane 4 with Zellner that time. Well, the 2 favorites having trouble getting their acts together. So let's go down to Dwight Stones for a field event report. Dwight?
All right, Tom, the hammer qualifying was held today in a very hot sun, and there with the crew cut 38-year-old Lance Deal, who really had an incredible performance in Atlanta, coming from basically nowhere, barely qualified for the final 3 throws, and then just lost the gold medal by 4 inches in Atlanta. Ended up #1 in the world that year. He'll be 39 in Sydney. This is his 4th Olympic trials. He's already a 3-time Olympian, and he had a nice throw past the automatic qualifier in warm-ups, and look at how far past the yellow line. An automatic qualifier, 245 feet 11 inches for the Eugene, Oregon resident. So he moves easily into the final. Guys, back to that 400 hurdles.
All right, Dwight is still looking for a fair start. It was Zellner in lane 4 that time. Eric Thomas in lane 6 before that. There's Zellner.
Now he's got to sit tight this time also.
And finally, we have a fair start in this second heat in the men's 400-meter hurdles. Remember, top 2 automatically advance to Friday's semifinals.
Well, Zellner and Thomas both sat in the blocks that time, which they had to do, but now they can begin to make up some of that space that they lost on the start.
William Porter out in lane 7 got off to a good start, and Porter taking him down the backstretch and into the turn. Maurice Mitchell on the inside lane as well, and Thomas and Zellner have a little work to do as they come to the top of the home straightaway. Here comes Thomas trying to close, and Thomas does have it now. Thomas in front and Zellner in second. Approaching the final hurdle, Thomas and Zellner are running 1-2. And in the outside lane, it will be Porter that comes up with that late charge after Thomas led the way across the line. Zellner shaking his head. So those top 2 will automatically move on to the semifinals on Friday, and here it is with William Porter coming up in lane 7 that closes past Zellner.
Well, Eric Thomas did exactly what he was supposed to do, but that's an impressive run by Will Porter, a guy who trains in Austin, Texas, and is really trying to make his way on the scene here.
So day 5 at the Olympic trials is underway. Back to Sacramento in a moment.
Real people, real stories. What do you believe? It's a miracle. Thursdays at 8, 7 Central on PAX Season 2000.
30 contenders, 3 continents, 1 winner. The 2000 Lincoln LS, Motor Trend Car of the Year. And now you can win with a lease of $399 a month for 36 months on a V6 powered LS. The 2000 Lincoln LS. See your Lincoln dealer.
Jim and Jan on the road as Heilig Myers celebrates America at 30 to 70% off nationwide.
Well, we made it to Phoenix.
Oh, is it hot?
Not as hot as Heilig Myers' giant $50 million clearance sale. Up to 70% off overstocks, one-of-a-kind floor samples, and discontinued furniture items. Like a beautiful swivel rocker and ottoman. Your choice of blue or mauve, just $128. Up to 70% on over $50 million in furniture inventory. Only at Heilig Myers.
We furnish America, Heilig Myers.
One recent day, our chefs were asked to explore the essence of summer. This request raised new questions. Can these foods live together on the same grill? Can these flavors share the same plate? Will the excitement be too much? Will the choices drive people crazy?
Hyundai owners know value.
The warranty is the best in America. You feel secure and you know you have someone to rely on.
During the Real Sale event, the Hyundai Elantra is an even better value. It comes with the freedom of America's best warranty, an air conditioning, stereo, and power package, all for just $11,484. Hurry in, because during the Real Sale event, the Hyundai Elantra is going real quick. Get the Elantra for just $11,484 during the Real Sale event.
Track and field Olympic trials continue from Hornet Stadium, the campus of Cal State University, Sacramento. And once again, we have seen a full house. This is the 5th day of the trials after the 2 rest days. And again, a sellout crowd. Every day of competition has been a sellout. The Northern California fans have supported this event superbly. And as we continue with the men's 400-meter hurdles, you see James Carter, the Hampton University All-American, who was 3rd last year in the NCAA championships.
And Tom, he ran a lifetime best of 49.03 last month, and he told me about an hour before this race that he's looking to run about 48.8, and he should do that comfortably. Another personal best it would be, but that's what he'll need to advance.
James Carter in lane 6 with 3 open lanes, 1, 2, and 4. And a fair start, first try this time, with James Carter in lane 6, one of those expected to contest it. And he's off to a good start.
Well, Sherman Armstrong, who had an empty lane to his outside, has really gone out and made up the stagger, maybe 1 or even 2 staggers. He's really running quickly on the inside.
Sherman Armstrong is in lane 3, the most inside lane here.
James Carter trying to figure out his steps there and put this race together, but Armstrong is really moving well there on the inside.
So Armstrong has the lead with Carter in 2nd place. Top 2 will automatically move ahead to the semifinals, and Armstrong has a big lead. Carter's in 2nd. Armstrong, the Illinois junior, wins it with Carter in 2nd to automatically move ahead to the semifinals. Unofficially 49.53.
Now that's a good run by Armstrong. You know, it was an aggressive run, and that's the type of thing you have to do in a heat like this, is practice getting out and attacking the race. Otherwise, when you get to the semi and the final, you know, you're going to go under. It's not going to happen.
Armstrong will be a senior at the University of Illinois in the fall.
Well, I think we're seeing a lot of aggression because for many of these younger athletes, this is the biggest crowd they've been in front of. Then they go down the backstretch with a slight wind at their back, and they're flying down, and they're paying for it at the finish line.
Now let's go back for more field reports and check in with Dwight. Dwight?
All right, Tom, a lot of activity down here on the field. The decathlon high jump is going on, and we will also have a javelin final later on this evening. But the other day, the women's discus throw did not conclude during our live window. So you want to go ahead and take another look at that particular competition. Seilala Sua, the 4-time NCAA discus champion, just graduated from UCLA, and she took no time. She knew before she even saw the disc land that she had a huge one on her first one. A personal best by almost 3.5 feet, 216 feet, 2 inches, just 8 inches under the current American record, and was just her first round throw. And then this is Kristen Kuehl, currently 5th in the competition as she went into the 4th round. 30-year-old from Windham, Minnesota, 6 feet, 195 pounds. She has a best of 207, but she lets loose in the 4th round, goes all the way from 5th to 3rd place, and is in a very secure position for the team at this point in the competition. She made the World Championship team last year. Now, Susie Powell, also from UCLA, she graduated back in '98. She won the Olympic trials in 1996, has moved back up here to the Northern California area to work with her father, Mac, and she really nails one in the 4th round out to 207 feet, 11 inches. So 3 women in the discus over 200 feet. Now Powell in the 6th round. She knows she's on the team, but she's going for more. Twice the NCAA runner-up when she was at UCLA. And some injury troubles last year, but had no trouble getting a great throw out in the 6th and final round. Look at the intensity on this woman's face. 5'10.5", 155 pounds. Small for a discus thrower, but a big personal best for her in the 6th and final round. Then Sua, knowing she has the victory, the last throw of the competition, going for more. A lot of the throws going out to the right side of the sector. She was all Galaxy in high school, basketball, volleyball, and softball. She had athletic scholarships for all 4. And on this one, it's a good throw, but lands just outside the sector. So Sua wins it as she waves to her coach, Art Venegas, up in the stands, and they're the 2 former UCLA Bruin teammates. They are going to Sydney with Kristen Kuehl. Sua wins it, Powell 2nd, Kuehl 3rd.
And now we're ready for the men's 400-meter hurdles, the heat, including Derek Atkins, the defending Olympic champion, who has struggled with depression, he revealed, dating all the way back to his Olympic gold medal performance in Atlanta in 1996. He talked about controlling his depression with medication.
The medication hinders my performance by doing several things. It causes fatigue, it causes muscle weakness, and it lowers the blood oxygen level in your body. And this is like, you know, 3 things that an athlete doesn't want, especially being, you know, at the Olympic level.
So with that medication affecting his performance, Lewis, he, with the permission of his psychiatrist, the doctor that's treating him, has stopped taking that medication for 2 weeks. Now, he's done this before, hasn't he?
He sure has, and that's exactly what he did in 1996, Tom. He realized in his training and in his competitions before the Olympic Games in 1996 that he just couldn't do it. And so he did lay off of the medication. He got through it without it in 1996. But now he has come to these Olympic trials, and he hasn't just gotten off the depression medication, but he is using a homeopathic remedy, something to sort of aid him, but it doesn't have the same effects of muscle fatigue and oxygen being lost to the blood. This is just an amazing story because Derek Atkins, over the years, decided not to reveal this. He kept this story within the family of his mom and dad, his coach, and his agent, and decided now that he needed to let the world know that this is what's been happening to him, because he now wants to inspire other people that manage chronic depression.
The downside of his not taking the medication, as he found out after the Olympics, is that the depression continues and resumes and sometimes hits him very hard.
It does. He went on 2 to 3 weeks after the Olympic Games, went over to Europe to compete, and he told me that he got to Monaco and got back to his hotel room one day and slipped into a depressive state and began uncontrollable crying and had thoughts of suicide, and somehow was able to get through that. And Derek Atkins made it back to the States a few weeks later and resumed his medication. So he has had very close calls with this chronic depression, but right now he says he's found a balance and he's able to compete, he's able to train, and he's hoping that he can get back and relive his Olympic dream.
Atkins is in the outside lane in lane 8, and in lane 6, Angelo Taylor, one of the favorites to win Olympic gold in the 400-meter hurdles, last year's U.S. champion. And he's in lane 6, as we said, with Atkins in lane 8. And it is a fair start, and then they are called back. We thought it was a fair start. A very late recall gun.
Looked like lane 7, Tom. There was movement in the blocks in lane 7. John McAfee. And matter of fact, there for a second, I thought McAfee got a flyer because he was gone. There you watch him in lane 7. There's the movement just before the gun started and fired, and actually got pretty far down the track before they fired it again.
Well, he hesitated because he thought it was going to be called back. And Angelo Taylor on the inside of him learned a tough lesson in his first round of the World Championships last year by backing off and not getting through the qualifying round. So I think we'll see him run hard through the tape here.
The false start was charged to McAfee in lane 7. And just a further note on Derek Atkins, he has the mechanical engineering degree from Georgia Tech, but he plans now to enter the ministry when he's finished with his athletic career.
He told me that that came from the fact that when he was in the throes of this depression, really strong from 93 to 96 before he actually had it diagnosed, he managed it by meditation, and he got very deep with his spiritual beliefs, and through all of that he found this connection and said he received his calling to go into the ministry. So he's actually taking classes and will follow through with that and become a minister.
You see the words on his singlet, Godspeed, just above his number 15 on the fabric of the singlet. Can't quite see it as he bends over, but now you can see it. Back in the blocks. And this time underway. Derek Atkins in lane 8, Angelo Taylor in lane 6. Atkins, will he be good enough after all the problems he's had? He's in lane 8. John McAfee making up the stagger, Angelo Taylor. And as they continue down the backstretch, Lewis Sales making a little bit of a move.
Atkins is out there in lane 8 all by himself, so there's nobody else to focus on, which forces him to run a strong and aggressive pace.
Angelo Taylor and Lewis Sales appear to lead as they come off the final turn, and one of the runners is down. It is McAfee that fell.
And Angelo Taylor seems to be easing up or tiring. He's in the lead, but he's slowing.
Last hurdle, Atkins in lane 8. Now comes up to take over the second spot. As they come to the right, it's going to be very tight. Atkins gets second behind Angelo Taylor and automatically moves to Friday's semifinals.
This must be an amazing moment for Derek Atkins to have gone through what he's managed over the last 4 years.
McAfee finally just finishing there. Excuse me, Lewis.
Sure, McAfee is in. But Derek Atkins is really an overcomer. This is a tremendous story about a man who has battled an illness. That's what he called it. It's a mental disease that he's dealing with. Tommy told me that he has a book coming out pretty soon called Let's All Get High, and I'm sure he'll be high off of that performance.
Well, he did run a good race, and maybe he's found a solution to his problems at just the right time. The amazing thing, as you pointed out to me, Lewis, was he kept talking about different injuries he had over the years, and he didn't really have those injuries, but he was ashamed to admit that he had the chronic depression, and now he's really changed about that.
And whenever you're running hurdle races, you never know what's going to happen, and if you don't clear the hurdle right, this is what happens.
McAfee with his lead foot hitting the top of the hurdle and going down. And right now, let's go down to the track where Jim Gray is with Derek Atkins. Jim?
All right, thank you very much, Tom. Derek, how you feeling?
Feel good. It's a good race for me. Good first round.
What's it like for you to be back out on the track after all the problems that you've been through?
It's tough, you know. It's tough, but, you know, I made the decision that I'm going to keep running at least through this year and see what happens. Still enjoying it.
What's your feeling on how your energy level will be tomorrow when you compete again?
I'm optimistic because I have to be. I think I'll be, you know, in the best condition that I can be in. And, you know, I think I'll be well enough to make it to the final.
What made you decide to go public?
It's just something that I knew I had to do, you know, because being an Olympian, you know, I've been a public figure to an extent, and I think it's important that people know that it's not all that glitters isn't gold, you know, and I have to let people know that we all go through hard times, and you know, I've been through mine, and hopefully we'll make others feel like they're not alone.
Derek, good luck to you tomorrow. We look forward to your race.
Thank you.
All right, Tom, upstairs to you.
All right, Jim, so at least on this night, the Derek Atkins story has a happy ending.
Derek.
Ready now for the 5th and final heat in the men's 400-meter hurdles. Again, the semifinals to be held tomorrow. And here's a look at Calvin Davis, the former Arkansas Razorback. He won the NCAA 400-meter championship a couple of times, then switched to the hurdles in early '96. Surprised everybody. He was 3rd at the trials and then took the bronze medal in Atlanta.
Well, despite the fact that he was 2nd at last year's U.S. championships, he didn't have a great year, but he seems to have the ability to run well when it counts.
And here are the lane assignments with Calvin Davis in lane 5 and Joey Woody in lane 6 from Northern Iowa. Finalist at the '96 Olympic trials where he finished 7th.
Joey Woody has a great mix of speed and strength. He's a 1:47 half-miler. As a matter of fact, he was the leadoff leg for the indoor world record in the 4x800 meters. That was back in January in Boston.
Just before the gun, Joey Woody raises his hand to come up out of the blocks.
Yeah, there was some clapping going on out here that is rather distracting. And so Woody, a veteran, you know, he was in Seville in the World Championship final in the 400 hurdles. And this is what you do when you're a veteran and there's a little noise and you don't feel comfortable. Throw your hand up. Tell the starter, hey, this doesn't feel right. I can't hear. I've lost a bit of concentration. No false start charged to him, and so they'll reset everybody.
He just did make it, though.
Right. Actually, Woody, not only a competitor, but he organized his own indoor meet. That was in February of this year up in the Unidome in Cedar Falls, Iowa. There are some great track fans in Cedar Falls, Iowa. He was an organizer and a competitor that day.
So no false start charged. And now the runner's back in the blocks. Calvin Davis in lane 5. Hasn't really had a whole lot of success since that bronze in Atlanta. Hoping to recapture his Olympic glory. Fair start here with Joey Woody in lane 6, Calvin Davis in lane 5. 2 to watch. And Woody going away pretty well. Joey Woody making up the stagger down the backstretch. Calvin Davis is also running pretty well.
Joey Woody has already made up the stagger on some of his competitors, and again, this is the time where you rehearse the attack, because that's what you'll need in the final if you plan on making the team to Sydney.
Joey Woody, Calvin Davis are 1-2 as they come off the turn and into the home straightaway. It's Woody and Davis showing the way. The penultimate hurdle, and now the final barrier coming up. Woody and Calvin Davis will automatically move ahead to the semifinals tomorrow.
That's pretty impressive.
Unofficially 49.36 for Joey Woody. And we'll have the roster of finalists for the semifinalists for tomorrow when we return to Sacramento.
Excuse me, sir. Yo, just because you're grown up, you don't have to act so grown up.